This is the Your Dollars Making Sense podcast, brought to you by Jamie Blanton with Jacob Title, Bales Property Management and Home Building, SHH Mechanical, Boyles Tax Service, 412 Pub House, Anytime Fitness, and Cotton Home Inspections.
Hey everybody, Richard Neese here. Thank you for tuning in to Your Dollars Making Sense, where we believe that financial intelligence is the key to financial freedom. If you haven't tuned in before, we want to help you get to a better place. We want to help you reach financial security. We want to help you retire, whatever that means. And the way that we do that is we bring on investment specialists, we bring on subject matter experts to talk about different sorts of investments. If you've listened to us before, thank you again. Make sure you tune in on Spotify. We're on WKOL. We're on so many different places now, and we're trying to really spread that knowledge and help people learn more and more so they can become financially free. Today I've got a special guest, Mr. Barry Willingham, the Revenue Commissioner here in Coleman County.
Thank you for having me, Richard.
So I know that it seems a little bit unique that you're coming on to an investment show. I know we've done the real estate rundown before and talked about taxes. Mm-hmm. We've talked about filing homestead exemptions and things like that. But the thing that I wanted to talk about today is a tax sale. I have so many people that come up to me and they'll see something online or they'll see an infomercial or something like that and they think, well, this is the quickest way to get rich. I can put money in and get 12% return or 20% return, or I can actually take over these properties just by paying taxes on it. And I wanted you to kind of shed some light on that. But first off, I'd like for you to talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, so it kind of gives us a background so folks know that you know what you're talking about.
Well, my name is Barry Willingham, Revenue Commissioner for Coleman County. I've been in office since May the 1st, 2009. Started working in the office in February 1993, so almost coming up on 27 years now. So, but appraisal background, so started a long time ago as an appraiser and, got elected in November of 2008, and so almost 10 years, or a little over 10 years now, serving as Revenue Commissioner.
Between appraisal and real estate agent and everything else in the world that you've been a part of, obviously you've got a pretty solid background on this, and it's constantly changing. I know that when you started, how did they structure the tax sale? Or tell us what a tax sale is, first off.
Well, the state of Alabama, we have two options to do a tax sale. The one is the one that's been around the longest, and there's still counties that does it. It's a tax sale where let's say the property is valued at $100,000 and the taxes is $500. Well, there's a bid process. Every county has their day of bidding. Right. You have to do mail out, certified, advertising. Well, with the day it goes to auction, taxes and penalties is $500. Property's worth $100. Well, there's a cap that you can bid up to. It's 15% of the property value. So you can bid up to $15,000 plus the taxes and penalties. Well, the reason they set that cap is years ago there wasn't a cap, and you'd earn 12% on whatever you put down. And there's
why would they structure it that way to begin with?
Well, I mean those laws go back long time, 50, 60 years ago. I mean, it was really just to pressure the people to pay their property taxes.
So what's the advantage of like a $50,000 property putting $100,000 down?
Well, you wouldn't do that. I mean, because you only don't earn interest on the cap.
Okay.
And they're basically a lot of the investors. I mean, we've seen people bring in several $100,000 worth of cashier's checks because they're prepared. They know what their net.
Right.
So if a property's $100,000, they'll bid $25,000. So they're going to still earn 8% interest. Sure. Over the effective rate.
Right.
They're basically only going to earn 15 or 12% on the $15,000.
Right.
No interest on the balance, but effectively they're still earning 7-8%.
Makes sense.
And a lot of times those guys didn't want the properties; they just wanted the interest.
Return, right? Which was a safe return, especially in that time frame. Yep. So let's take it a step back. So I know that most folks know you got to pay taxes on your properties, and if you guys are dealing with real estate on the residential side, it's usually escrowed, so somebody else is paying that or making sure it gets paid. But on commercial property, which is investment property in most cases, that's not happening. So give me a little background on that and the process. I know that you guys mail out on October 1st and start that. So just give us a process of when you're sending that stuff out and just the overall.
Well, our lien date is October 1 of every year, and our collection date for that lien date's the next year. So a lot of times there's a lot of confusion on who pays taxes when deeds are closed, and taxes are escrow or prorated at closing. So our lien date's October 1 every year. So whoever owns it at that time, that collection comes next October.
Right.
October 1 is when we send out our notices and our effective lien goes into place. January 1 is our delinquent date, and so that's when the interest and penalty starts adding up. But we get our escrow. We've pretty much posted all of our escrow payments. All of our local banks is already posted.
Right.
All our big banks is already posted. They might be a few here and there, but yeah, we've got probably about $4 or $5 million in the last just couple of weeks.
That's pretty good coming in. Nice. Helps the funds out. And, it's important for these new investors to understand how that works, because you can find a great deal. You can listen to our radio show and find out, hey, I can go find a great deal on a property, multifamily, whatever it is. And then if I just forget about that tax, well, what's the penalty?
Okay, January 1, there's a $5 demand. And
this is locally.
State law is
$5
$5 demand. It's really supposed to be per customer, per account. So some counties do a little different. So if you own 10 properties, you really should only be paying a $5 demand per account. So
right.
So it's 1% per month, and that's
on the taxes.
On the taxes. Yep. So if it's $100, 1%, and we calculate it. It don't matter if you pay it on January 2nd or January 30th. It's 1%.
Gotcha.
So just keep it simple.
Makes sense.
So it's 1% January, 2% February, 3% March. And I tell people, a lot of folks don't really realize you can actually pay taxes in 25% increments between October 1 and through into December. After that, we got to take full payment. I understand. Because with interest and penalties and such.
And that's state or is that county?
That's actually in the code.
Okay.
The tax collector, or in the code it says tax collector shall accept 25% incremental payments.
Now, I keep coming back to that. Is there anything in particular that specifies if it's a county or a state code, or is it all the same across the board?
There is local legislation in every county. There's some counties that has a dollar per day.
Okay.
So
there is specific things.
Yeah. So if you got a $10 tax bill, and let's say, and some are $2 a day,
right? And
you got a $10 tax bill, and you wait till January 30th, well, that's going to be $60 penalty because it's per day, and they don't. I mean, plus the 1% interest too.
Right. So I'm sure this varies from state to state too, how that's worked out. But it seems to me that, if you're watching the infomercial, it seems like it's almost a predatory thing where you can come in and snatch this property from folks. But the way you guys have it built out in the state of Alabama is we really want you to pay your taxes. We don't want somebody to come take your property.
Right.
That's the way it seems to me.
Well, to me, one of the biggest constitutional rights is ownership, property ownership.
That's right.
That's the reason that when we go through the process of selling property, it's very important for notifications and advertising. And that we spend, I'll have 10 or 12 clerks spend hours a day trying to find these people.
Absolutely.
We use LexisNexis to research, to find phone numbers and forwarding addresses, because it causes us a lot of headache when we sell a piece of property.
Well, it seems like, and if folks are listening on Spotify or something like that, they may not know you, but with everything you guys do in your office, it's top rate. You go above and beyond, whether it's going to senior citizen places to tell folks about different tax deductions and homesteads, or doing like you're talking about. We don't want to take, we want you to pay your taxes. We don't want you to pay more than that. We don't want to take your property. So that's how it is. So I appreciate you doing that. It's truly public service. We're going to come up against a break right now. But first off, I want to thank some of our sponsors. I want to thank Cotton Home Inspection. If you guys are looking for a home inspection in the North Alabama and now Mississippi area, make sure you call Cotton Home Inspections. And if you need some paint work done, Steadfast Painting, the girls do a great job. They actually painted some of my rental properties. They're available throughout North Alabama, so make sure you give them a call.
This is the Your Dollars Making Sense podcast, brought to you by Jamie Blanton with Jacob Title, Bales Property Management and Home Building, SHH Mechanical, Boyles Tax Service, 412 Pub House, Anytime Fitness, and Cotton Home Inspections.
Hey everybody, Richard and Denise here. Welcome back to Your Dollars Making Sense, where financial intelligence is the key to financial freedom. Today we're talking about taxes. Taxes are important. We're not talking about how to, not necessarily how to pay them or how to manage them, but we're talking about tax sales with the revenue commissioner here in Coleman County, Barry Willingham. Barry, thank you for coming on. Thank you for staying for the second segment. I appreciate you always being willing to come in and inform the public. I know that some of the information that you're giving out, because we're going to have folks from Tennessee, Mississippi, other areas, it may not be exactly accurate for their state, but they have the resources. Like if I'm in Mississippi, where do I find out about tax law?
Well, every county, they have, most of them have websites. I know a lot of counties sell their information as far as tax information, which ones are sold and things like that.
Yeah.
So, because there's always excess involved sometimes. But, the state of Alabama recently passed some new legislation, and a lot of the counties is going to this. We kind of mirrored state of Arizona's tax sale laws because we're trying to protect the property owner's interest, to make sure that their rights are protected as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Because nobody wants to lose their property over a $150 tax bill.
That's right.
And this way, like I said, 7 counties went to this process last year, and I think about another 10 or more are going to it. There was some that was kind of hesitant. I know there's smaller counties that only deal with 1 or 2 parcels a year.
Right.
They don't want to, they want to keep what they know.
Sure.
But,
And it seems
the
like
process is a
change
lot
for that.
simpler in the way we're doing with this lien sale instead of the tax sale.
So you see this is pretty much going statewide over the next several years.
Well,
I know it takes time.
I know our association, the Alabama Tax Administrators Association, we work with the bankers, the BCA Council, I think, also, and the Realtors and the Bankers Association, because they're affected too. Because
Right.
you got clients that may fail to pay their taxes because they go in a nursing home, or
That's
they
right.
we have some people that they have to leave the state for some reason, and we want to protect their rights as property owners. So
on a situation like that, I know we're kind of getting a little bit off track, but you said you're looking up these folks through different platforms, trying to find them. Even if they're in New York, Washington State, you're going to try and contact them in some way, certified mail, whatever the case might be, to make sure that happens.
Yeah, anytime anybody does an assessment, we try to get a phone number. People's phone numbers change, but we use private software that we use to research, find people, because we don't want to sell property for taxes.
So we're talking about money, obviously. So what kind of cost is it to sell a property for you guys? Is there an additional cost for your office?
Well, just time. You're talking time.
Yeah.
Time's money with paying
Absolutely.
my employees to try to find these people. Right now, since we went to the lien sale, it's actually cheaper on the taxpayers in the long run.
So let's talk about the specifics of the lien sale, because you and I had this discussion probably about a year ago when you guys were starting to implement this. What does that mean? Because I know before it was 12% flat rate, and then it's changed now to where it's a bidding process.
Well, and actually that even 12%, there's a law that goes into effect January 1. So if a county does stay with the original tax sale law, it drops to 8%.
Oh wow!
So anything
trying to move to that.
Yeah. So what happens is let's say the tax bill is $500 with penalties.
Right.
Well, the only money that I need from the tax sale purchaser is the $500 plus any penalties.
That's right.
The rate is bid down. So when the bid starts, first bid can be 12%, 11, 10,
So
9.
tell me what that means. I'm going to bid $500. I'm going to pay the taxes on this piece of land.
You're guaranteed, if you win the bid, you're guaranteed the rate that you obligated the property owner to pay.
Okay.
So if you raise your bid and you'll take it for 0%, and last year we basically took anybody as a tie, so this coming year,
kind of working out.
We're gonna work out the little kinks how we're doing it, but
sure.
So it'll go 12, 11, 10, 9.
So are you still putting money on top of this? Like
No.
it gets all the way down to 0?
No.
Okay, so
No.
that's gone away. I can't put extra money on
No.
top of that and make them come back with it.
No.
Okay.
No. If you bid 0% and there's other people in the room that will take it at 0%, that's the only time we'll have a drawing for a tiebreaker.
I see.
Everything else will be considered, 10, 9,
And I'm
8.
guessing the benefit of that is that maybe it's a property that's close by to them or something like that they want to keep it from going into foreclosure.
Well, I
How does that
mean,
work?
it could be adjoining property. It could be that, a couple acres. It could be it doesn't matter. Let's just say the tax is $500 and you paid. What happens is every year from that subsequent year, it has to come back to the sale. The original purchaser then has first right of refusal
at the same
rate. At the same rate.
I see. So you'd have to pay 6 years worth of that $500.
It's actually it's on the fourth year.
Okay.
On the fourth year that it comes back. So from the first date, you're really 3 years of timing. You have that from that fourth purchase. You can go to circuit and then get your clerk's deed. Basically, they'll give a court deed or however they do. I'm not an attorney, so
sure.
So you take it to the clerk's office and you quiet the title through the clerk. Now, the way the law is specific is you as the purchaser, you have to do that. You have from 10 years from the date of the sale. If you don't, after 10 years, it's like Jubilee.
Huh. Interesting.
Everything's you basically lost your interest.
So if I've got an investor out there, and I want to kind of break it down, because you always give us a ton of information, and I want to try and get to the heart of it. If I've got an investor out there, or me personally, I want to go buy some property, and I pay this tax note for 3 years.
Right.
How do I get my money back if they don't pay?
You'd have to quiet the title.
So you have to go through a legal process to quiet the title.
And then you become the legal owner of that property.
Now, are there any hiccups in that we could come across? I know you were talking about the process as a whole. If something wasn't done exactly right, do you know that?
Well, this process would, to me, is cleaner in that you're actually got a clean title. Because right in the old way, I'd give you a tax deed.
Right.
Well, you know what? The tax deed's worth the paper it's written on.
Yes, sir.
You got to quiet the title.
Right.
Because all I'm doing is saying, here's the county's interest that you purchased. You purchased the property. There's not a title company that will write title insurance on a tax deed.
And so that would be subject to other liens and things like that.
Right.
So then you have to fight for the actual
Right.
possession.
So when you go through the court system and you quiet the title, you've cleared the title. You've given all notifications as possible. Probably even doing the title search on the property to submit to the courts.
Right.
And here's where we've notified everybody. Now, if you don't do that, and next year it comes back around, you still have 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th year. You keep paying on its taxes, praying that somebody comes and redeems it. You'll get all your money back if they redeem it at whatever rate you wanted at from that first year. But if you wait till that 11th year,
and you lose all of that interest that you had in it.
Yeah, you don't all the money, interest, everything.
Interesting. So, I mean, in my opinion, I see a lot of these folks that, like I said, the infomercials and things online, buying these tax sales. And it doesn't seem like it's a great strategy for building wealth overall. It seems like it could be a shelter for money if that's what you need it for, but it doesn't seem like it's a great way to guarantee return.
I can say 25 years ago when I first started I witnessed some people buying some properties for little to nothing, and ending up with the properties and buying very valuable properties. But people are more educated now in the fact, and to be honest with you, if people probably worked through the system and knew the system and had legal counsel, they probably could have got their properties back in. So this way, property owners are better protected in their rights. We won't have any predatory tax sale purchasers trying to, because when on the old way, they basically could start a foreclosure process within 6 months of the day that purchase, kick you out of your home and force you. And let's say they bought it for $15,000. Well, you don't have to come up with that $15,000, but 12% interest on $15,000 over a 1 year period is a lot of money for somebody. You got to come up with $2,000. You couldn't pay the $300 taxes to begin with.
It's almost it's a debtor's court.
It is exactly right.
That's something that I worked in law enforcement before. I won't go too far off this, but I do believe that with FTAs, and it's the same sense in this. So failure to appear and not pay and things like that. It just creates a system where you're hurting the people that are already hurt.
Right.
So I think that the way that you guys have come up with it, and I don't know if that was in Alabama or if that's you said you guys copied something from Arizona.
Arizona had been doing it for over 80 years. We actually had 2 officials fly out to Arizona, film one of their sales, and we mirrored a lot of the stuff that they'd already be doing too. So
well, it seems like you guys are definitely protecting the interests and the rights of the landowners, which is important. I mean, the money shouldn't rule everything, and if you've got land, you shouldn't be able to have that ripped from you for not paying your taxes.
Right.
You know, as long as you're making amends and trying to do something.
Well, we had a lot of issues sometimes when somebody dies.
Yeah.
Properties, and this will be able to clear up a lot of heirs properties a lot easier too.
Makes sense.
So
especially if you can bid it all the way down to that zero. At that point, you're really just paying the taxes on it. So it seems like a good thing. Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Willingham, do you want to give the listeners any more information about the tax sales, anything that you think we missed, or we're kind of coming up on the end of the show?
Well, all the information is available on our website. We'll put out the current delinquent parcels around March, because it's kind of useless. I'll have 3,500 parcels that's delinquent in January. Right. We'll end up selling 100. So for us to put out 3,000 parcels,
but save the taxpayers money too.
Well, it is basically there's a link. You go to our ColemanRevenueCommissioner.com. There's a button that says tax lien sale parcels, or if you even hit the do search, there's a check. There's a button at the top that basically just gives you a list of all the parcels.
Makes sense.
You can download it to a spreadsheet, sort it however you want to, and look at them individually. So. And
then you guys send out notices closer. We're sending out notices on the tax bill.
We'll send out a notice. We'll be sending out a notice in December, just as a courtesy, because we had a printing error that we want to make sure everybody's clear on what they pay. Anybody that overpaid taxes automatically got a refund, because we had a company that used the wrong field. But basically, we'll send out a delinquent notice in January. We'll send out a first class in the end of February, and then we'll start advertising on our website in March, and just come pay your taxes.
All right. Well, Mr. William, I appreciate you coming on the show. You always give us so much information. Thanks for clearing it up, and you can make your own assessment on this, folks that are out there listening. It seems like they're doing the things necessary to protect people that have the land in order to protect that right. So to me, it doesn't seem like a great investment this time, because we do have so much more information at our fingertips, whether it's listening to this show or whether it's getting online and going to the websites, checking out tax law. I mean, having that information available makes it to where people can make better decisions overall. Would you agree with that?
I would.
Well, thank you, Mr. William. You have a good day.
Thank you.